I bisexualize my hair because the curls were getting to me. Anyways, this video is about gender dysphoria and how weird it can be, because I consider a prime example of the intermingling and fussiness between the biological and sociological components of gender identity. It's not about hair, sorry. Your brain is what dictates your conscious experience and how you process information and how you feel about stuff. And for better and for worse, we don't have an awful lot of knowledge in how this brain thing manages gender identity. We have a few clues, of course, like the sex dysmorphic ratio of gray and white cells, or the neural density and size of certain regions in the brain. But we don't have a way to look at a brain and simply know how their identity work, or even if they were trans or not, even less so for non-binary identities. Technically speaking, trans people are their own phenotype, just like how cis people are, but they have much more in common with the cis equivalent of the gender or genders they identify as rather than any other identity. We can observe significant differences in the anatomy and physiology of men and women that we just can't see between cis women and trans women, or cis men and trans men, and presumably other identities. We don't have an awful lot of research on that front. The variance present between cis and trans people of the same gender is there, but it's pretty negligible. It's comparable to that of ethnicities. The differences are there, but they represent no change in behavior or thought processing or any other variable that we care about. There's a reason it took us years to even find them with brain scans, you know? Gender, from a neurobiological standpoint, is just like any other part of human identity or personality. A gradient. You have the ballpark of people that feel like this, like that, like nothing, or even that. The gradients in between, and any other combination of these elements. Hence the lack of significant difference between cis and trans people. It's already very variable as gender is entirely subjective. And as a little clarification to this digression, none of what I'm saying is any sort of thumbs up to any kind of invalidation of other people's identity or bigoted idea that we should classify non-cis people differently. I hope that has been clear even with my layman's explanation of the topic, since promoting ideas like that would be no different to saying that different colored people should be seen as different types of human, and I hope I don't need to explain why that idea is beyond stupid. If you want to know someone's brain, be they an adult or a child, the easiest way is to just ask them. Self-identification has proven itself, to the surprise of no one in the community, to be the most reliable method. It also doesn't waste thousands of dollars in something you could know by just not being a dick. So that's how this brain stuff relates to gender dysphoria and gender identity in general. It dictates what you are and how you feel about things, on a more basic level with a whole lot of variation. And just like any other aspect of our biology, it determines our psychology or sociology when applied to whole societies. Because you see, the relationship between biology and sociology is very similar to that of chemistry and biology. Biological phenomena are imagined from chemical ones. However, we can't fully understand biology just by looking at the chemistry, and vice versa. Things like cancer research or population genetics require both to be understood. And the same happens with sociology and the cognitive sciences. As you know, gender in society is a construct, an attempt at describing subjective experience and putting a label on your brain in its unique configuration. Hence the reason it varies so much from time to time and place to place. It bears in consideration just as much as color perception has throughout history. Not every society has had a word for fuchsia or green or orange, for example. The same way not every society has had a word for transgender or non-binary, or even a conception of a binary gender. Anyways, the way this shows in society is pretty obvious. We change our appearance based on how we feel and how we wish to be perceived. Just like how we change a smile to a frown when we want to show sadness. And the thing with that is that it's really malleable and flexible. We used to consider skirts and nail polish a manly thing, and you don't even need to go that far back. Engineering and video games were almost exclusively a masculine coded thing, while cooking and childcare a feminine coded thing. This ability to bend and break the gender roles becomes apparent, or at least it did to me, when beginning my transition. Suddenly things that I was kind of indifferent about become sources of happiness when I discover they're femme-coded, or a little bit of dysphoria when they're seen as masculine, like saying what's up by nodding your head. The way you are dictates how you end up presenting and how you play or enforce the rules we made up about gender. And said rules dictate how you end up feeling about material reality. In this scenario, non-cis people are pretty interesting. We show how absurd these rules are just by the fact that we exist in the first place. And personally, I think that's partially the reason why there's so much animosity for us out there. It's hard to maintain a patriarchal society that enforces this idea about superiority and weakness when you allow the fruity ones to roam freely and transgress the rules however they want. We are a pretty clear display that gender has both biological components, that's why gender conversion therapy doesn't work, and sociological ones, and that rigid bioessentialist notions of a binary gender just don't work. Not even for cis people, as any argument that ignores the little human brain and relies on grade school biology to make itself will inevitably fail at disaccrediting trans people and only trans people. There's always a group of cis people that gets swept up in the transphobia, no matter the angle they take. Anyways, that's the video. Just a little thought I wanted to get out there since it comes to my mind every time I perform my gender in such a rash manner. It's a quick reminder of how stupid and irrational dysphoria can be and the lack of hotness the concept of gender in and of itself has, and that maybe taking it seriously and stressing over it is a mistake. The people you want in your life won't judge you for this, you know? They'll accept your weird little brain however it is, regardless of the rules or the body you were born in. So don't worry much about whether you're too much or too little, or if you really are what you think you are, if you do this or you don't do this. Being able to choose yourself every day over what society wants you to be since day one is already a massive achievement. It requires a lot of creative thinking and ability to self-reflect that a lot of people never do in their lives. Just do what makes you happy and enjoy dabbling in the absurdity of gender expression without taking it too seriously. Kinda like what I did with the spooky straightening of my hair. That's the lesson I like to take from this, at least. And with my piece set, this was Alice. Have a great day, and you wish you had this length next. That's how I would have ended this video if I didn't realize I didn't actually talk about my hair at all. I took a tiny video of it doing the unbisexualizing of it and a picture. It was pretty scary as it was the first time I actually ironed it out myself. Well, technically I had the help from my sister for a whole 5 minutes before she went to sleep and abandoned me 3 strands in. Baby in the pool type shit. It didn't come out great, it's very uneven as you can see by the fact that it's still curly. And it's very frizzy, especially noticeable around there. And in the back, because it's the back and I don't have a 2 mirror setup, I couldn't really see super well, so while it is straight up, I'm surprised by that. It's not as good as it could be. But I consider it a win nonetheless, a step towards progress. I didn't burn my hair or skin, and I learned how to coordinate better in front of a mirror, which is useful not only for hair stuff, but also makeup. On another note, if you're wondering why I took almost a week off, it's because I was just feeling kinda down. I wasn't in the mood, or rather in the place to really be recording a video and publishing it. But now I'm better, kind of. Today's video is much more simple. I don't plan on doing animations or drawings for it really. And I really don't plan on citing everything and putting proper sources to what I said. I know what I'm capable of and what I am. And if I start taking these videos too seriously on the science department and doing proper reviews of it, This is just going to become Professor Dev Explains with a tranny slapped on top. I'm not really opposed to it yet. It would be kind of fun. But right now I can't really do this topic justice or really dedicate myself to this. So I don't wanna make sloppy videos. So I would rather it stay within the layman's territory and not get too technical with the sciencey stuff. Hence the reason I stay on general, very basic terms instead of anything specific. Now with my piece set and final comment at it, this was my B.A.M. Have a great day. Once your hair grows out more, you should absolutely do the snakes, and anyone that is watching this. It's fun, and putting on my headphones or a ponytail or just my bra is so goddamn easy now. Not to mention the euphoria of feeling your hair run down your back smoothly. In my case, I'm just fulfilling a childhood dream of making my hair run down to my hip. The back part, which is the longer side, only reaches up until my navel, so I'm not quite there yet. Now, have a great day. Bye bye.